Kenya just concluded her general elections on 9th August 2022, and it was a tight presidential race in Kenya between Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, a former Prime Minister.
Many Kenyans want change that means transformation of their lives. And whether Ruto will be that kind of a person, if he at all wins the elections, it's time that will tell.
Kenya's last presidential election in 2017 was a drama-filled saga that ended with the annulment of the result when the courts found serious irregularities in the electoral process. Uhuru Kenyatta's victory was, however, confirmed following a rerun. Angola's incumbent president, João Lourenço, announced earlier this year before the Council of the Republic that Angola will hold her general elections on August 24th this year. Now, João Lourenço, who was elected on August 23rd, 2017, is seeking a second term, and it will be the fifth time that Angolans go to the polls since 1992. The largest opposition party and former rebel movement in Angola, UNITA, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, headed by Adalberto Costa Jr., will challenge President João Lourenço's ruling People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, come August 24th. And the opposition, Adalberto Costa Jr., an Angolan member of parliament, is of the opinion that there is unequal treatment accorded to the political parties, not giving room for a free and fair election.
The competitors in an electoral challenge do not have different privileges. The law puts them all in the same circumstances, so says our constitution, so say the laws. But as any serious and honest citizen evaluates, we are in a process of electoral approximation, absolutely violating the laws.
According to him, the non-publication of the electoral registers 30 days before the date of the elections and the lack of auditing on the database of senior citizens by these institutions is a serious violation of the process. He's simply saying, publish the electoral roll because it would allow voters to identify their polling stations, while auditing the file would make it easier to remove names of deceased citizens. He recently filed 2 criminal complaints to the Attorney General's Office, PGR, for alleged violation of the electoral law regarding the upcoming August 24th elections. Some analysts have opined that with the recent death of João Lourenço's strongman predecessor, a struggling economy and soaring poverty looming large would affect Lourenço's chances of winning in what observers predict will be the tightest election since the oil-rich country emerged from a lengthy civil war 2 decades ago. 1 year ago, current Chadian leader Mohamed Idris Deby took control of the country's transitional government in a de facto coup d'etat following the unexpected death of his father and longtime president Idris Deby Itno. Chad's 2022 irregular elections are an attempt to move Chad to a civilian-led democratic government. In a nutshell, executive authority did not shift to the Speaker of Parliament after Deby's death as constitutionally mandated. Rather, a military council of 13 generals seized power, dissolved the government, and selected his 37-year-old son, Mohamed Deby, as the country's new leader. The hereditary succession of power amounted to a coup, triggering a negotiation with the African Union, which resulted in the 18-month transitional timeframe intended to end the 2022 presidential elections.
De transition représentative de toutes les provinces et de toutes les forces vives de la nation sera également mise en place pour permettre l'accompagnement législatif de l'action gouvernementale et donner au pays les bases d'une nouvelle constitution.
Next month, September 2022, Chadians will head to the polls to elect new lawmakers. This election is very critical for maintaining democracy in this landlocked Sahelian country in the center of Africa. People in Lesotho will also be electing new lawmakers this October. The outcome of the election will also determine whether incumbent Prime Minister Moeketsi Majoro gets to keep his job or not. The elections were announced for 7th October 2022 to elect all 120 members of the National Assembly, the lower house of the Parliament, after King Letsie III dissolved Parliament. The country of about 3 million people has been led by the Lesotho Convention since 2017 after the party beat the Democratic Congress. The current parliament held its first sitting in July 2017 following the 3rd June 2017 elections, which ushered in a Thomas Thabane-led governing coalition. On 13 November 2023, Somaliland will conduct her 4th presidential election since 2003 under the leadership of incumbent President Muse Bihi Abdi of Kulmihi, who is eligible to seek a second term in office, having first been elected in 2017. The country had taken an important step towards stable democracy as its opposition scored a surprise win in long overdue parliamentary and local elections on 31st May 2021.
I'm a member of the Watani Party. I'm opposition. I come from the Sanag region, and I'm also one of the people who leading the party line here in the Parliamentary in Somaliland. Somaliland needs to be peaceful. We need to have an election. We need the presidential election to happen in 13th of November. That's what our constitution says. The president is trying to delay the presidential election. He's trying to register new parties, which they are not constitutionally right. So what happened? We need the president and we need the Somaliland government to respect its constitution.
Recall that Somaliland has de facto but not internationally recognized independence from Somalia. While the rest of Somalia was under Italian rule prior to independence, Somaliland had been under British rule. Although it joined Somalia following independence in 1961, relations were tense and Somaliland ultimately declared independence from Somalia in 1991 after the government in Mogadishu collapsed. In contrast to the rest of Somalia, Somaliland holds direct elections, and according to our constitution, presidential elections are to be held every 5 years. Tunisia's parliamentary elections will be held on 17 December 2022 to elect the third assembly of the representatives of the people. The country recently approved the new constitution granting unchecked powers to the office of President Kais Saied.
I am voting yes because the program of Kais Saied is the best for everyone.
It's been total mayhem these last years. We need change for the better.
Tunisians voted on July 25th this year in favor of the new constitution, which, according to the president's rivals, gives President Kais Saied the approval to install an autocracy in the birthplace of the Arab Spring.
I'm abstaining. I don't believe in the results of this vote. I won't endorse a procedure that I think is illegal.
This is basically the moment when Tunisian democracy, at least for now, dies. Its democratic transition was not consolidated, it had a lot of flaws, it was very fragile, but Tunisia got farther than any other Arab or Muslim country.
Now the Tunisian parliamentary elections will be held in Tunisia on 17 December to elect the third assembly of the representatives of the people. And according to Kais Saied, the elections will put an end to the suspension of parliament. This process, in Saied's words, should allow citizens to recover their sovereignty. Nigeria, which has consistently maintained its democracy for 2 straight decades, the longest in its history, will conduct its general elections early next year, 25th February 2023. And much like the Kenyan election, the focus is on Nigeria's presidential election, contested by 3 leading candidates: Peter Obi of the Labour Party, Babatunde Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. Exactly a year preceding the election, on 25th February 2022, Nigeria's incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2022 Electoral Act Amendment Bill into law after months of withholding assent.
Nigeria is huge. We have 20 million more registered voters than the other 14 countries in West Africa put together. So each time Nigerians go to the polls in a general election, it's like conducting a general election for the whole of West Africa. It also involves a projected voter population of about 95 million for the 2023 general election.
Now, Nigerians describe the enactment of this law as a timely one because with the new Electoral Act, it provides financial independence to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), The use of electronic devices such as smart card readers, electronic voting machines, and other technological devices is allowed in the accreditation process for voters and electronic transmission of election results. Sierra Leone's general election is scheduled to be held in June 2023, in which the parliament and president will be elected. The presidential elections will go simultaneously with the elections of ordinary members of parliament and local council representatives. Sierra Leone's president, Julia Madabio, represents the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party (SLPP) to stand against the main opposition and their arch rivals, the All People's Congress (APC). 4 years ago, President Julius Maada Bio defeated the incumbent in general elections and took office from Ernest Bai Koroma of the APC, who had been president since 2007. In July 2023, Zimbabweans will elect a president, members of parliament and local government representatives. The ruling Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front (ZANU-PF), whose 2023 candidate is ruling President Emmerson Mnangagwa, will face the main opposition MDC Alliance, now Citizens Coalition for Change, led by Nelson Chamisa. Now the ruling party has led Zimbabwe since independence from Britain in 1980. More than 20 presidential candidates were successfully nominated to run, but the real battle is between incumbent Emmerson Mnangagwa, president of the ruling ZANU-PF, and 40-year-old Nelson Chamisa, who leads the MDC Alliance, a coalition of 7 opposition political parties.
They know that we constitute an alternative. They know that we defeated them in 2018, and we're about to repeat that. Not just in the by-election, but also in the 2023 election, which is the big gap. So they've tried to decimate us, to destroy us, to divide us, to defocus us, but they failed.
Since independence in 2011, South Sudan, who has never conducted general elections in its capacity as a sovereign state, will conduct its elections in 2023. Recall that South Sudan split away from Sudan in 2011 after decades of war, but plunged into its own conflict at the end of 2013 after South Sudan's President Salva Kiir sacked former rebel leader Riek Machar as vice president. Troops loyal to both men clashed in the capital that December, and ethnically charged fighting soon spread. Following the peace agreement that ended the civil war, a transitional period of 3 years was agreed on, which will be followed by elections in 2023.
I want to stay in the government longer. We don't want to rush you into an election that will take us back to war.
Come 2023, Coast Democratic Majority Party led by Bol Gai Deng is ready to challenge President Salva Kiir and the Sudan People Liberation Movement in South Sudan. General elections are scheduled to be held in Liberia on 10 October 2023 to elect the President and House of Representatives. According to sources, incumbent Liberian President George Weah, who is eligible for his second term, will contest alongside political leader of the opposition Alternative National Congress Alexander Cummins, former Vice President Joseph Nyoma Boakai, and Nathaniel Barnes, a former Liberian ambassador to the United States, who is ready to run as an independent candidate. The 2023 Malagasy presidential elections are scheduled to be held in Madagascar in November. The president of Madagascar is elected using the 2-round system. This means voters will cast a single vote for their preferred candidate, and the election process usually proceeds to a second round, only if in the first round no candidate receives a simple majority, that is, more than 50% of vote cast, or some other lower prescribed percentage. Incumbent President Adri Nirina Rajolina has been the president of Madagascar since 2019.